Um, I'm just thinking in my head of this argument. Do you say amen kwabathandazi noma sithi ukuthula kwabathandazi? So which one do you think it is? Amen. Okay, ukuthula kwabathandazi. Ngithi nje ngivusele kwakithi kogatsheni obenyathi somluka ompongozwe ngelwayo nina abandlovu zidla ekhaya ngokuswela belusizo othi soluthi into umuntu emezayo nami bonthiyani ngokuthiya amadoda mazibukweni makwande phinde ngivuseleke nakomakhanya umakhanya konguno hey the Makhanyas are not with me today. Omakhanya onguni ogumede ophathwa iqabo okhuzwayo yena kezitha ngithi nje ngiyavusela napaka mkhwenyana nkosi yami boshaka lodwa ngola mavuso nako nala ngeke ngiqede kuvele nje it's just not my department it's not my department but ke ngiyavusela kunina nonke bogogo nomkhulu bokhokho nina zalukwazi nina babuke ekhaya ngiqale la. So I was having struggles today because wow, load shedding is showing us flames. So ningixolele I couldn't do a video earlier bengihlelele past 12 because ikhathi zethu zethu futhi I'm grateful that I didn't because wow, uLesithathu isithunywa day empandeni. So lesithathu sukule ithunywa Sunday standard but Wednesday nje sukule ithunywa and I honestly get so emotional like yonke into inokuba sensitive on a Wednesday kungconywana manje ngithe nje ngibathi idlozi libe nami even though kusawusuku le ithunywa kodwa nje I need idlozi because asikwazi ukulokhu isikhala ngiyarefuse ngiyaphuma nje kuleyo department yokukhala because izinto zifike zithinte ekujuleni kwami and ugogo nje kakhulu ukazwele kuzinto ezithanda ukusinda ezibangosizi kodwa ke before we get into things we are so close bazalwane, we are so close so please don't forget to like, so click that like button, don't forget to subscribe, click that subscribe button, don't forget to join the channel, those that want to join the channel nje kube kuhle kube mhlophe ekhaya and ngithe nje let me go into izinto lezi kakhulu engibuzwa ngazo ngithe uthi ngiqale ngazo before ngiqale ngesihloko sanamhlanje ne of which isihloko sanamhlanje sobe sikhuluma ngomhlanganiso sobe sikhuluma ngabantu abahlanganiswa esimeni sikomoya. So when we take two spirits people that are within a relationship and are both spiritual beings, whether khona ungathwasanga or whatever the case may be, but mokuthi umuntu kamoya, alright, umuntu kamoya mhlawumbe uthwasile or kanye uyazi ukuthi ke kunesimo sedlozi and ufuna ukuncengela idlozi lakho ukuthi ningahlaliseki kambi nomuntu ophila naye, then this is very very important because amakhaya amaningi anokudilizeka ngenxa yokuthi noma imendo eminingi noma into ecishe yabomendo inokudilizeka ngento esimple ukuthi asikwenza ukubika noma asikwenza ukuhlanganiswa ngokomoya understandani ukuthi I'm a spiritual being, ngumuntu kamoya, ngumntwana wethongo, ngumntwana wedlozi, nawe unesimo sakho sikamoya and njengoba sinobudlelwano obukhona, we are in a relationship, we need to ensure ukuthi ke isimo sethu ngeke sibe nenkinga eziqhuma ukuthi siqhathwe idlozi noma siqhathwa umoya wethu or imimoya yethu ngenxa ukuthi ubulungiswa asibenzile noma izinto kufanele ukuthi masizenze ukuze singabi nesimo sokuthi sivukwe. Kunabantu abavuka amadlozi bazalwane, abavuka amadlozi they with their significant other, they with their partners, or othola ukuthi benithi ngiyahlangana esimini sekamero, umuntu othola ukuthi nje ogogo bakhe noma amakhehla akhe abhukule kube nesimo sokuthi uvuka umoya bese ngabusalunga. So sifuna ukuyilungisa yonke leyo nto namhlanje singabi nalezo inkinga, and also having to understand ukuthi idlozi mekuthi alifuni singaforce kodwa sibe nendlela esincenga ngayo ukuthi at least kungabi nophixohixo okukhona ngenxa yokuthi nje imimoya ayihlalisekile kahle ngenxa yokuthi asibikanga noma senzanga lokho fanele ukuthi masikwenze ne. Okay, so that's what we're going to be dealing with today, and it's very, very important because ngisho umuntu esephehlweni, this is something that your gobela needs to help you do and do for you so that awubi nenkinga noma ukuthi ke usuganile usuwashada wacaca, but kuyima uthwasa, because there are people also that married first, bese bevuka idlozi labo sebesemendweni, and there are people that also are in a relationship but are not married, so umuntu kodwa uthwasela idlozi lakubo. All of that indaba yomsamo, you're gonna touch on it because it's very, very vital, because kuba nama confusion akhona as well when it comes to people abathwase sebeganile, ukuthi then when it comes to umsamo, how do we work around that, what is actually the right way of doing izinto so that akubi nesimo sokuphambana, because abantu abaningi bathi akuphambanile kanti into ebasic kahle kahle ezingalandelwanga ukuze ukwazi ukuthi ke isimo sakho sedlozi siphililisane nokuthi obviously umuntu wenyama and unempilo ephilayo, and asifuni kumnuku ke edlozini, asifuni umnuku, asikuthandi, because kuhambe leyo nto itself icondazela wena. So we're going to deal with that, but ngithi angiqale ngalokho ke before I get into that. First things first, right? Ngibuzwe in my comments ukuthi okay mekuthi angakabi nesimo sokuthi ngikwazi ukuyenza igobongo, or ngifuna ukucaciseleka kahle ngesimo sami sikamoya so that I know what I'm doing, because sometimes kunamadlozi unfortunately enza kancane or take their time in needing to do what they need to do or needing to show you what they need to show you, so nathi fana siwalekelele, right? And also ithunya, I get questions about indaba yesithunya sami, how do ngisincengela isimo, how do ngisihlambulula without always having to go to water and so forth and so forth. So to answer that question, right, kunento okuthiwa ubulawo. So if you know ukuthi unedlozi or unabantu abadala but kunezinto ezingacacanga kahle or kunezimo that you need to deal with but ufuna ukwazi ukuthi edlozini ukhulume nalo, ukwazi ukuthi or emathongweni ukhuluma namathonga kini, urasondeza uwabize ubadlela ukudla kwabo khona bangeke badle egazini, because idlozi noma amathongo anokuthi adle egazini kuwena. That's why you find people getting physically sick or losing weight or having things happen to them that kind of like put them in a situation where they are weak, all because ukuthi idlozi lifuna ukuphakela ukudla kwalo, amathonga afuna ukudla kwayo, and imvamisa adla kuwena because wena awukudla ukudla kwalo. So what you do is kunento okuthiwa ubulawo, right? Emaxhoseni, I know they call it islawu. Kuneslawu sasekhaya komalume neslawu sakotata, whatever, but it roughly has imithi that are similar but not the same, right? It's similar but not the same. But ke emakhosini sithi ke ubulawo ne. Ubulawo, you don't necessarily need to go to a healer to get it, because ultimately umuthi ohlanganisiwe oneimpande or one imithi ekuxhumanisa nabantu abadala, right? Okwenza ukuthi badle kuwena nokuthi ke it draws them in quicker, because mebebona ukudla kwabo phela bazosondela. Hence why ithunya isikhathi esiningi zenza izinto okuthiwa amaladi, because ufuna ukuthi ubaphakele uzobazi ukuthi bakusondele bangunge bazi ukuthi bayadla, njengoba nabo bekunika izinto and bakwenzela izinto nabo badinga ukudla kuwena. So how you do that, ithunya imvamisa zenza amaladi, nasedlozini amaladi ayenziwa, but kakhulukazi kube into kahle kahle yenziwa ithunya, or just normal people when they want to say thank you emathongweni akubo. Emoyeni or edlozini kunento ekuthiwa ubulawo. So ubulawo, you don't necessarily need to go to a healer. So to make life easier, you guys can get it on my website. Ubulawo, umuthi omhlophe, though, just falls under the category of umuthi omhlophe, so you can get that on my website. Labantu laba bathanda uwasho when it comes to ukuthi uhlambulule and keep cleanliness, because cleanliness is next to godliness, then you can also go to my website, www.makhosithandi.co.za. but it will be in the link in the description on the video, ne? So lezo zinto lezo ibalekile esimeni sethu sokuphila. Isiwasho sibalekile ukuthi ezinye izinto ukwazi ukuthi ke zicacele, because ukugquma kukuphila, as other people call it, ukufutha kuyimpilo, kukuphila, because especially when you do it before you go to bed, because ufuna ukucaciseleka izinto, akwazi ukuthi kusondele kahle ithongo, kube kunobumnyama or kunemimoya engungile engahlambululekile kahle. So uma ukuthi uphila ngokugquma, kuyasiza ey'ntweni ey'ningi ukuthi ukwazi ukuthi uhlale uhlambululekile khona uzokwazi ukuthi uxhumene kahle nabantu bakini. Okay, so that's that. I hope ukuthi ke nicaciselekile ngalokho, so that I don't keep getting questions on the comment section about this, when it's something very, very simple that I want you guys to know, and know that it is accessible on the site. All right, okay. So on today's topic, singene ngiqalela yini umhlanganiso, right? So umhlanganiso is a process that is done in order ukuhlanganisa umoya wakho nomoya walo osukuphila naye noma osukuthandana naye. Okay, wenzela ukuthi ivimba izinkinga eziba khona in a relationship, othola ukuthi almost like nishawa isichitho, but akusona isichitho, because kusuka abadala not recognizing this other entity that they are with. Because as a spiritual person uhamba nabantu abangungile, right? Kunabantu abangungile, kunabantu abangibuzile. Labo bantu laba, wherever you go, they go with you, right? So uma ufika kumuntu ophilisana naye noma uthandana naye, naye unabakhe abamngungile, and especially when you guys all carry mainly spirits of the same gender. So njengami njengoba nginamakhehla, uthola ukuthi nomkhwenyana wami unamakhehla, and when we are together kube nje nezimpi ezikhona between the two of us, because amakhehla ethu are not recognizing each other. Amakhehla ethu awakhona uku-understand ukuthi yini lento eyenzekayo la, njengoba siphila together, or mekuthi kufanele senze inkonzo yasekamereni. All right, they are not for it, right? And awukwazi ukuthi ke uthi idlozi uvalele iminyango ukuthi lalela ngisahleli la nomuntu wami ngicalene ngibreak. It doesn't work like that. Where you are, they will be. Hence why we've seen videos trend of people uthola ukuthi usavakashile nala athandana naye, whatever, uthola ukuthi uzovuka idlozi ukuthi adile nalowo muntu. So kuyibona kahle kahle bethi whatever is about to happen here, we are not for it, right? So things like that become very problematic. Abanye bashayana. We've dealt with couples uthola ukuthi betrapana strong. Uthola ukuthi umunye shaya umunye, it's just a mess. Even though it's not something that people like to talk about, but ngedlozi liyayidlala indima eningi ukuthi uthola ukuthi wena nomuntu othandana naye nje nyanqubuzana one way, right? Because of the fact that your spirits are not connecting, they are not abakhona ukuthi bahlalelane, ngoba na uthola ukuthi kunezinto othola ukuthi ezingahambiselani nalo muntu ophila naye, or uthola ukuthi kwalo muntu ophila naye abamrecognize, abam-understand, and whatever that they are working with is in conflict with you, because you guys are of two different spirits, of two different impande. Because moguthi umuntu nomoya kunempande yakini nawe unempande yakubo, and you have to merge that so that there's a cohesiveness, noma kunokubambisana okukhona ukuthi okay, ngiyaku-understand ukuthi okay, lo mntwana wakho uthandana nomntwana wami, so mase kuhlangenwe thina siyahoxa siyahlehla. Yebo lento asidinga ukuthi kube ngathi nawe sikubheka njengesitha, yabo. So umhlanganiso is something that prevents such issues, and also it helps in terms of even protecting the relationship, because once they understand ukuthi okay, wena uthandana nomntwana wethu, right, there's an exchange that happens where uthola ukuthi your people, or let's say ayenza umzekelo ngani noShabalala, right, uthola ukuthi my people will also watch over uShabalala, or uthola ukuthi his people will be watching over me, right? So there's a level of protection that in itself brings. It's almost like bayibethelela bona i relationship, because they understand ukuthi labantu sixhumene sibambisene nabo esimeni sikamoya sibambisene nabo esimeni senyama. So whatever happens, we need to protect each other and be a unit when it comes to labantwana bethu abahlangene. Okay. So umhlanganiso uyalekelela kakhulu, where you guys don't end up having to do unnecessary things just to secure the relationship, because when you've done what you needed to do when it comes to abantu or amadlozi enihamba nawo, you know, there's a level of protection that it brings to the relationship, and even ensuring that niphila ngepeace, kungabi nokuxukuziswana that is unnecessary. You know, there are things uthola ukuthi nixabane ngokuthi iplate alwashwanga, senidubene 2 weeks wonke yabo ukuthi hayi ngafica iplate engawashwanga, or whatever the case may be, into eyibhedayo gcina senixabana into engayazi, because ultimately yilabantu laba abanolaka ngokuthi they are with somebody that they are not recognizing in spirit, right? Let me put it this way. When shadiswa amadlozi, it's almost like kunomgcaco, right? There's the traditional marriage that happens, and then when there's a traditional marriage that happens, lo mshado lo kuthiwa umshado wamathongo, kusuke kushada the family ancestors. That's my family ancestors are understanding that their child is marrying into another family ancestor. Am I saying that right? Yes, yes, sit. Am I saying that right, Shaba? But yeah, so traditional marriage is when they know that I'm going to marry into the Shabalala clan, right? And the Shabalala clan knows that there's a marriage situation that's going to occur, because umntwana wako gatsheni uyeza la ekhaya uzogana la ekhaya, and umntwana kwagatsheni uzozalwa ngaphansi kwaleli khaya lako Shabalala. That's amathongo. That's a traditional marriage. Then you have lokhu kwamadlozi, understand ukuthi mina nginedlozi engihamba nalo, nginamathongo that are specifically assigned to me as Makhosi, or as umuntu ofana thwasela uMakhosi, whatever the case may be. So unamadlozi ahamba nami as a spiritual being. Labo bantu labo are specific to me as their child. So when I go and I marry into the Shabalala clan, then there's that conflict that happens ukuthi ngiyoshada laphaya, but amadlozi ami azophila kanjani laphayana, because angifi kagatsheni, due to the fact that I am their spiritual being, right? So angifi mina kagatsheni, whereas in a traditional marriage you die kagatsheni to rise kashabalala, right? So I hope I'm making it clear, making it understandable, because it is a bit confusing. But on a traditional marriage, uyafa esibongweni sakini, uvuke uzalwe esibongweni, hence why uhamba nekist, which serves as like it serves like a casket, almost like a casket. So uhamba nekist to serve like a casket. But ayikho leyo nto edlozini. Edlozini awufi in your specific clan, but you merge with the other clan. Okay, lo mntwana lo uyisangoma, right? And uzogana la ekhaya, where you find that nalapho yogana khona kunezangoma zakhona, right? So as a sangoma, there was no way ngangizogana in a family that isn't spiritual. Whether they practice or don't practice is irrelevant. Ukuthi ngiyazenza izinto or awuzenzi kuyafana, akusuke ngahambi ngokuthi uyenza or awenzi, but babheka ukuthi labo bantu esiyakubona, are they on the same spiritual level as us, nemsebenzi le esibekela umntwana wethu, right? Because you do not marry beneath you spiritually, you marry your equal, right? So la ufika ushade khona uyidlozi is where your partner most likely is on the same spiritual level as you, whether they practice or don't practice or know their lineage, right? So that's very, very important to understand. Then then you need to understand ukuthi kuhlanganiswa ngani, right? The process is done either with the chicken or the goat. Now, understanding that is so important because a lot of people will always opt for the goat because not sabuzwa, ukuthi are we planning to marry or not. So it's very, very important to rather opt for the chicken because you need to understand people maybe sebathandwa uthando lishisa umuntu athi no ngizomshada and uthola ukuthi mhlambe idlozi lakho hasn't deemed it fit to be so. Yabo. So yeah, thank you. Okay, so idlozi lakho hasn't deemed it to be fit to be so. I hope ngiyibeka kahle. Anyway, so ukwenza ngenkukhu is so important to do that first, unless vele sengicacile sengishadile ngiyazi ukuthi iphakade lakho lelo noma usuyazi ukuthi vele uyophelela lapho, right? It's something that's very, very important because edlozini ayikho divorce. So uyowazi ukuthi makuthi nihlanganiswe ngembuzi, no matter where you go, you will always carry that person's spirit and you'll never have peace in the relationship that you then end up marrying into because nahlanganiswa ngembuzi. Imbuzi nje ushosho uvala. It's like doing a processing ngenkomo, right? So kuvala ku full stop ukuthi there's nothing further than this. This is the end of the rope. So monza ngembuzi, it carries that level of weight, right? So we have to understand ukuthi monzonzo umhlanganiso mekuthi you guys are engaged or uthola ukuthi niyathandana but anishadile or you haven't taken steps where kulotsholwenwe and so forth. It's always best to do it with the chicken. And also, even if you're engaged, the reason why I'm advising to do it with the chicken is because sometimes idlozi alifuna ukuhlanganiswa naleyo clan. And I'll explain why, right? I had somebody, I'm sure if they ever watch this video, they'll know I'm talking about it. But I had umuntu obethwasa umzukulu like and so ngangithwasisa ugobela wakhe then by virtue nomzukulu because it was the first grandchild. Senyazi the process when it comes to grandchildren. So bacela ukuthi ngimenzele umhlanganiso so they don't have problems when it comes to ama assets, right? So ngabachazela ngathi ke abathenga iqhude, so iqhude needs to be bought by the man. So when kwenza umhlanganiso isilwane leso or lo mnikelo leyo ufika nomuntu wesilisa, right? Always njengamalobolo it will come from the man. So nomhlanganiso ke isilwane somhlanganiso silethwa umkhwenyana nomuntu wesilisa. So the guy came with the qhude, sisashisa impepho nje bu umlilo kuyavutha kuyashisa. We already seeing ukuthi yabo lento esiyenza la kahle is not the one, but ke you push forward ngoba phela iphakade lakhe sizothini, right? And phela uma wakhe edlozini was there, so now she could have said something, but ke and then we slaughtered the chicken. Waqhuma inyongo ne? Yaqhuma because now yakuthela. I remember that. So yaqhuma inyongo from the chicken. It busted on ushabalala. Again, ngiyakhombisa ukuthi lento siyenzayo la kahle abayifuni, you know. They don't mind that they go together because another thing, idlozi can accept somebody that, you know, helps you in your spirituality. So umuntu obambisene naye edlozini uthola they support you, they support your journey, they support everything that you are trying to do and trying to achieve ngesimo sakho sikamoya. Idlozi can recognize that even if it's not somebody that they chose for you or had in mind for you, but bayakwazi ukurecognize i-relationship ebambisene kahle and bayamkele and bayibusise. But what they did, what the ancestors didn't want to do is do umhlanganiso on a spiritual level with them, right? Bebengafuni ukubopheka kubona on that level yomhlanganiso for many reasons that I will not disclose now because I think it's irrelevant. But ke bebengayifuni abadala. So all of that showed ukuthi le nkukhu in itself showed ukuthi asiyifuni lento eyenzakalayo but sayiforsa. But inkukhu right, because in everything that we do when it comes to a chicken is bambiso. When you do umsebenzi, any kind of umsebenzi wenziwa ngembuzi or kanye ngenkomo. But when we do things with chickens, kusuke kumbambiso ukuthi hlampe, let's say there are people that don't have amandla embuzi. So idlozi or amathongo, they accept chickens as a substitute. But akuyona isibethelo inkukhu. Inkukhu iyabambisa ukuthi I've done this way because you needed me to do it. Right? When I have strength to do it in the way that you need me to do it, then ke ngiyoyenza. So inkukhu in everything, even when it comes to cleansers, inkukhu is bambiso. Right? Hence why it's so important to cleanse, to do cleanse the right way, because it's bambiso that can carry you, that they can recognize ukuthi this process was done. All right? But if then you do a cleansing, a simple thing as a cleansing, moyenza and uyenza ngendlela wrong, then because inkukhu vele isibambiso, then you are able to still correct the mistake. But when you do a cleansing or when you do a process with the goats, that is a full stop, right? So in doing something with the chicken, it leaves room for ukuthi, if there are any errors or mistakes that were done, at least ngezizicindezele because yenziwe ngenkukhu. So I hope, because I'm not in contact with that person, I hope ukuthi akagcina ngenze ilona umsebenzi wembuzi, because then it was a no. But when you do it with the chicken, it helps because if amadlozi awayifuni, then they will recognize ukuthi okay, okwamanje lo muntu ubambisane naye. But yeah, they can recognize that lo muntu ubambisane naye, right? They can show you through the chicken that this person, we don't want 1, 2, and 3 happening, but we recognize ukuthi lo muntu ubambisane naye. So because we recognize ngesizindlu, right? So a chicken is useful there. But if more muntu, for example, senyazi ukuthi nyophelelana, senyazi ukuthi hlampe everything else has been done and planned and whatever else, or ucacile, then imbuzi is the way you do umhlanganiso. And imbuzi can actually help indicate as well what's coming. I remember when we did ours, imbuzi communicated basically ukuthi we were going to have twins, right? It communicating that a baby was coming, then it communicated that there will be twins with that baby. So when you do this process, it can also help indicate ukuthi what's coming. Hence why yenziwa a healer, because also a healer can help guide when there's a problem. Uyabo, mekuthi kunenkinga ekhona, umlaphi uzokwazi ukuthi abheke ukuthi okay, this is what the animal is showing, or this is what is coming, or this is what is wrong. Umlaphi is able to understand and be able to give information as to how or what needs to happen, so that lokhu kukwazi ukuthi kube right noma kube isibusiso, or ikwazi ukuthi if ingenzeki ngendlela why ingenzeki, and be able to basically shine a light on what exactly is an issue, or maybe an issue, or maybe a blessing when it comes to the merging of umoya wakho nomoya umuntu othanda naye ivukwe ikhanda. So those are the animals that are used mukwenza umhlanganiso. Abantu abathandanayo imvamisa that it's just your boyfriend or it's just your girlfriend. Usually what happens is, that's always like an easier route, is that umuntu othandana naye, the male has to ukuthi akhunge wena. It's different when the male is the spiritual person, or kuyena othwasile, or kuyena onedlozi lentwaso, versus when it's the female. So for example, if ushabalala bethandana nami and mina ngilutho edlozini, I'm just mhlawumbe umthandazi, or I'm just somebody who doesn't have any level of calling, but yena umntwana wedlozi, even though I come from people that were healers, or whatever the case is, my lineage indicates that vele khaya sabantu bomoya, but I don't have a calling. And ushabalala is the person that has the calling, right? Or uyena ofana twase. The only thing that he needs to do, because vele he's the male, that is a spiritual person, yena ukwakho ukuthi abike emsamo ukuthi okay, nangu umuntu engimbonile engicabanga ukumenza umakoti, noma engimenza umakoti, ngicela ukuthi niyibusise. So it's just a matter of him going and speaking to his ancestors, ukwazi ukuthi akhanyisele i-relationship yethu, akhanyisele umendo wethu, right? So that's important. When it's the male, then yena fanele, it's just a case of ukuthi abike isimo sakhe, right? When it comes to our relationship, right? Or even if I'm just a girlfriend, abike ukuthi nginomuntu engihlekisana naye this way, asikakenzi lutho, kodwa ke make uthi umuntu nani enimbonile enimkhethile ukuthi ngiphilisane naye, ngicela ukuthi angikhombise. I think it actually helps a lot because it cuts a lot of problems short. Yeah, but it covers a lot of problems because also I think it would help where the girl doesn't waste her time and the guy doesn't waste his time, because also ukuthandana nomuntu omlaphi kuyasinda. It's so heavy, especially when you're not of a spiritual kind of being, oyena umuntu kamoya, oyena umuntu owenza izinto. Kuyasinda nje ukuthandana nomuntu omlaphi or onobizo, because kunezinto ezofika naye ongeke uzuqale ukuthi ubhekana nazo noma understand in the full concept if you guys are not meant to be together, right? And I'm a firm believer ukuthi as much as umuntu ungamthanda, sometimes kunale attraction when it comes to abantu bamoya where it's just that rosy glow, right? And you feel like you're attracted to that person, but you're actually not. You're attracted to the kind of spirit that they walk with, that just moves a certain way inside of you, right? So I think when ugai yena ozobika noma kumkhulu yena ozobika, it helps when they will speak to him and say ukuthi this is a person ozokwazi ukuthi uphile naye, uphelelane naye, or it's not, so that the guy can actually choose whether they in the relationship or push it forward. But no, if it's not somebody that is meant to be your forever, as a person that's not a spiritual being, idala ukuthi umuntu esisa gcina sethatha isithembu ethi ngikhethelwa abadala, yaba yonke lento yomnakwethu nani isuke isiqhamuka kanjena ke when it comes to abantu besilisa abama spiritual beings, because wena ukuthandile ngoba bekuthanda, and that's fine. But then kunabantu amadlozi azothi nangu umuntu ozophilisana naye. I had a twasa once, uyazi ukuthi ngikhuluma ngani, where idlozi langafuni intombazana wayithandana nayo, usabathe idlozi limkhombisa omunye umuntu, usabathe idlozi limkhombisa omunye umuntu. That relationship did not have peace at all, and the worst part, the woman was not supportive of him being ephehlweni or him doing the things that he needed to do ephehlweni, right? And that's another thing that was causing more chaos, because idlozi alifuni ukuthi uthanda nomuntu ozophikisa indlela kufanele ukuthi mawuliphilele ngalo. Uyayibona lento leyo, alifuni leyo nto, alibusisi leyo nto, and it's not willing to bend in any way so that nizokwazi ukuthi niqhubele umjolo wenu. Alivumi nje idlozi, so njengoba ngisho, everything when it comes to ancestors, but the start and the finish when it comes to how you move on this earth and how you live. And if there's no peace when it comes to how you move in terms of relationships, then umuntu who goes from one bed to another bed to another bed because you're not finding or you're not doing what you need to be doing in order for blessings to come into your situation when it comes to you being with a significant other. I hope I'm making sense. And I think I saw something being said. I don't know if I think it was deleted. Okay. Anyway, moving on. Okay. So this then leads me to Uktwasa after marriage versus Uktwasa before. Okay. Uktwasa after marriage is actually harder than Uktwasa before. And I think the complication comes at ukuthi there are people that don't understand ukuthi bathwasela liphi idlozi kanjani. So for example, mina is uThandi, right? Ngiyogana kaShabalala. Ngihambe ngiyogana kaShabalala, ngicace ngenze yonke into. Lifika idlozi lithi sengila isikhathi ukuthi sihambe siye ephehlweni, right? Siyothwasa. Uhambe ephehlweni uyothwasa. Mind you, la ngiganele khona kaShabalala kunamadlozi akhona. Kunabantu nabo abanezinto abayikweletile that they haven't done, and njengoba mina ngafa kaNdlovu ngayogana kaShabalala ngizalwa khona, that means ukuthi kunanama dlozi akhona azofuna ukungembatha nawo, azoqhwagela kumina ukuze akwazi ukuthi nawo athole lento ayidingayo, njengoba vele ngigana khona ngingakabi sangoma ngingabe lutho. They saw that is a spiritual being and kuseduze uphehlo lakhe liyanqunquza, so bafike bazongembatha ukuthi nabo bakwazi ukuthi bathole ukudla kwabo through me. So it's so important to understand ukuthi nabakamkhwenyana bangangibatha kube ngathi uthola ukuthi ibona bazovela mhlawumbe uyohlola kuthiwa fanele uthwasele. And I've had people tell me this where umuntu mengibuza ngithi uthwase angathwasela idlozi lakamkhwenyana, akukazi uqala uthwasela idlozi lakamkhwenyana because uzalwa wena uzalwa nedlozi lakho. Idlozi waluthwasela idlozi lasekhaya, in whether it be your father's side or your mother's side or both, whatever the case may be. But idlozi wahamba uthwasela idlozi lakini. And in understanding that, nalawa afika wagana khona nakunamadlozi akhona afika kwembatha, right? So umntwana or umuntu esifazana owacaca waphelela la oganele khona, mophehla inkamba or mosephehlweni or uthwasa, you call on your ancestors. So you call them in the order of intwaso yabo. So for example, khona abantu abaqhwagela abantu bakababa, right? Let's say we're speaking about a child that was born in marriage, kwagcagcwa kubo, so nje bazalele emshadweni ekhaya. So they rightfully, like my mom, she rightfully calls isibongo sakubaba ngoba ukhulu wami wagcagca khona kaNdlovu, right? So uma would start with isibongo sakababa mesephehlweni, aqale ngesibongo sakaNdlovu, alandele ngesibongo sakamama kuMthiyane. So uzothi Ndlovu athi Mthiyane, asithi ke wafika wagcagca ke kobaba la ngizalelwa khona kwaMakhanya. So afika athi Ndlovu, afika abize uMthiyane bese egcinane ngabo Makhanya, ngenxa yokuthi nabo fanele ababize ngesimo sokuthi uganele khona waphelela washada khona wazalwa ezumntwana wakhona. And njengoba ezalwa ezumntwana wakhona kufanele nabababize when it comes to izinto zabo or izinto zakhe lo muntu loyo or uma. So if I make an example uma, so as umana ke fanele ababize and recognize ukuthi phela ngumakoti ophelele kaMakhanya, so I also need to call them. But idlozi uthwaselayo akulona lasemshadweni, so she cannot athi mephehla inkamba athi Makhanya athi Ndlovu athi Mthiyane. Lapho useyazicindezela because uzodala i-conflict within her own spiritual self, because you need to understand hierarchy edlozini is so important. Hierarchy is like you need to, kuyo yonke into, angithi when we do things, we start with the male figures and then the female figures. Ngoba ngisho mengenwa esigodlweni noma kwenziwa izinto, there's the male side, then there's a female side, right? Mengenwa endumbeni, there's hierarchy edlozini. Ayikho lento yo 50-50 nanani, lezi zinto zesilungu kufanele siyishare laphana belungweni, singayilethi la edlozini, because you cause complications and frustration and incindezi for yourself. There are a lot of things when it happens with people, they want to say ukuthi ngacindezelwa la ngiphuma khona, kanti uzicindezele wena in how you did your process and in what you are saying and in what you are doing. I had somebody I was helping once, wangitshela ukuthi wayenomsamo, because ucacile benzele umsamo umkhwenyana wakhe la ashisa khona impepho nomakoti la ashisa khona impepho. It doesn't work like that. Ubunuku lobo, right? Umkhwenyana uba nomsamo wakhe as inhloko yalomuzi lo, right? Umsamo wakhe la wenza khona izinto zakhe. La mekuthi ngisho kugula abantwana ubathatha abafake lapho kulo umsamo wakhe because abantwana bangaphansi kwalesi sibongo, right? Then umakoti ke mekuthi ke njengomuntu kamoya enzela umsamo, and at the time lo muntu engikhuluma ngayo angakathwasi, angakenzi lutho that comes to izinto zakhe. So njengoba yena eshisa impepho angayilutho nje edlozini, udala ukuthi kube nophixohixo obukhona la okwenza ukuthi kube ngathi ubophekile noma kunezinto ezenzeke kuyena ezingacaci kahle, ezinye ivele ngathi isichithe, ezinye zivele ngathi uyaphoswa or uyathakathwa, kanti ibona abadala abamcindezela ngenxa ukuthi lento eyenzeka la endlini abayi-understand. Hierarchy edlozini is very important. You need to understand it and recognize it so that you can prosper. Akuhambi ngokuthi wena uyi-accountant laphaya, noma wena udokotela laphana, noma wena u-minister of whatever where you work. Edlozini, your position in the material world and in the world of sisebenza so that sizokwazi ukwenza 1 no 2 no 3, ayisebenza edlozini. Edlozini kuyamemeza ukuthi umuntu esifazane, kuyamemeza ukuthi umuntu wesilisa, kuyamemeza ukuthi what is your age. Wena ngimdala kwena ngo1 year or 2 years edlozini, or ngimncane kwena ngo5 years edlozini. Hierarchy matters edlozini, and it's not about the other person, it's about you. And if you recognize it and understand it and uyithobela indlela ofanele uyithobele ngayo, there's blessings in that. But if you're gonna go ngokuthi I'm the manager in my company, or I own my own company, or I'm the minister of transport, whatever that you are, if you're gonna go with the edlozini, there are things that we need to understand that we build for ourselves ukuthi zibekame ingcindezi, because asifuna ukunderstand nokuvumela umthetho ukuthi this is how it works when it comes to edlozini. Okay, so where was I? Yes, there you go. So masake usenhlanga, so mokuthi ke uyongena ephehlweni, you need to understand ukuthi idlozi yokuthwasela idlozi lakini la uphuma khona, whether uthwasela idlozi lako mama noma uthwasela idlozi lako baba, or uthwasela both, whatever the case may be, but le dlozi yokuthwasela elasekhaya. Then mekuthi ucacileke la ucace khona, then uyababiza nabo in recognizing ukuthi umakoti wakhona phela, that does not change, right? Then after usuzo, it can be ukuthi I can only speak in the order of Makhosi because yonke ngayithwasela in the physical world, even though nomzawu ngawuthwasela but ngawuthwasela ngomoya. But anyway, so when it comes to Makhosi ngawuthwasela physically, it can't be the gobongo stage where masusuzo potuli gobongo lako lasemakhosini. Then masuzo potula umkhwenyana wakho athenga imbuzi, ukwazi ukuthi kwenza umhlanganiso at that stage, or kanye you can do it mase usubuyele ekhaya. And mhla usubuyele ekhaya kusuyo uyofaka ngokuphelele ke kuyokwenziwani ukuthi okay suphothulile uyisangoma ubuyiswe ekhaya, and you are taken to your marital home, fanele kubekwe indawo lapho ibikwa umkhwenyana wakho, because umuntu ofanele also abike ekhaya ashisa impepho emzinweni is umkhwenyana wakhe, asho ukuthi okay, nangumakoti uyabuya. Umakoti uyisangoma. Umakoti udinga ukuthi abe nendawo yakhe ezoba indumba yakhe noma ezoba isigodlo sakhe, azokwazi ukuthi ashise impepho asebenze kuyo. Kube uyena ozoqala kubika ekhaya la emzinweni leyo nto, because I'm assuming now ukuthi vele ni bafakile abantu abadala, or you've done what you needed to do in terms of that home. Then ke mase sinifaka ke lapho ke kube ke indawo that is almost like cordoned off, but haye ngaphandle, but cordoned off ukuthi le ndawo le siyibekela umakoti ukuthi akwazi ukuthi aqhube umsebenzi wakubo in conjunction with Laikhaya kaShabalala. In conjunction with Laikhaya kaShabalala. Alright, so kumele ukuthi niyenze lo process yomhlanganiso, so that even masusubabize msamo, ngeke uzusebenze ngabo, because that in itself has its own process. Mekuthi njengami fanele ngisebenze, abantu bakaShabalala bafuna ukuthi nabo bangiphe umsebenzi, uShabalala fanele yena akhiphe embuzi abike ukuthi ke ukulobola ke idlozi lami. Kumele ukuthi alobole idlozi lami, alobole mase lobolile, so kunembuzi yomhlanganiso ngithi, bese kuba nembuzi yokulobola idlozi yokuthi ke mengenza umsebenzi la ekhaya, understand ukuthi nezinye ama shares, basically like buying shares in a company, ama shares enye le company belong to abantu bakaShabalala, because abantu bakaShabalala balobolile le dlozi la koNdlovu ukuthi nalo lisebenzele bona, lingasebenzeli abantu bakaNdlovu kuphela. So le dlozi lisebenzela abantu bakaNdlovu, lisebenzela abantu bakaMakhanya, liphinde lizosebenzela nabantu bakaShabalala. So the process is not just umhlanganiso, but it's also ukulobola. So abantu abacacile la. Then you have someone like me who wathwasa kuqala, waphothula, wenza yonke into ekhaya, and then ngagana, right? Actually it was just before I'd finished twasering. Sagana before. Yeah, it was just before. I think like a month, 2 months before. September. Yeah. So yeah, 2 months before. Then I did everything. Beside, I did everything that I needed to do in Sahlanganiswa. Idlozini noShabalala. Now, this is where also problems arise. What wasn't done for us was that angibikwanga kaShabalala ukuthi njengoba elobola kumbeswa kwenziwa 1 2 and 3 and 4 lapha kogatsheni, umakoti la ekhaya uyisangoma. So this is important. Now this step does not need a healer. This step umkhwenyana wakho okanye ke mekuthi nisasekhaya ubabezala or somebody lo okumnikazi wempepho, kumele ukuthi kuthathwe inkukhu emhlophe, afike kushisa impepho, kuthiwa ke lo makoti esimthathile la ekhaya, ngicela ukuthi ni recognize ukuthi lo makoti lo uyisangoma, right? Because mekuthi they don't do that, leyo nto iyaba I don't want to say ngcindezi, but it becomes a complication. Ibisindo naso, yeah, ilona gama elingcono, libisindo phezu kwenu, because into ayenza ukuthi idlozi lami ngoba ngasuka ekhaya ngayohlala emzini, mase ngifika emzini idlozi lami lifuna ukungena la ngenkani, melifuna ukungena la lifica namakhehla khona, melifica amakhehla khona nakhona kudala ukuthi kungabi nokuthula kahle, uthole ukuthi kuba nezinto ezenzalekayo unga-understand ukuthi zidalwa yini, kanti ingoba amakhehla akhona ukuthi-ke mina-ke amakhehla koshabalala mhlawumbe ngifanise ngomuntu orawo amakhehla kashabalala angithande, so ayengimbulela izinto zakhona, but kwakubuye kube nalokho ukuthi lo mntwana akabikiwe ukuthi uyisangoma, because you need to understand as isangoma, mina ngisangoma angibathobeli kashabalala, angikwazi ukuthi ngithobe. Umakoti mengene ekhaya ngithi uyathwala uthobe, you know, it's something that we need to do, right? Traditionally ukuthi umakoti uyathoba, there's a way that she carries herself. Mina ekhaya ukhulumela phansi, wehla phansi, uhleze umuntu obheke phansi ukuthoba. Mina ngenzi leyo nto, mina we speak as equals because ngimdala, yabo, ngimdala ngokomoya, ngimdala ngesimo somuntu enguyena when it comes to my title as uMakhosi. Because now another thing, akusho ukuthi hayi lo uMandlovu, right? Ngekusho ukuthi uMandlovu, when they refer to me, they refer to me as Makhosi or Umakoti, but they can't just call me hey Umandlovu like I'm just one of the girls. Like, hi, it doesn't work like that. They can't call me as one of the girls. I'm the only girl, Makhosi. And the title supersedes idlula wonke ama-title azoqhamuka when it comes to me as a being and me as a person oganele kashabalala. So because angikwazi ukuthoba, kumakhehla khona it looks disrespectful, so that they understand ukuthi yini ledala ukuthi ngingathobi. Kashabalala, they were meant to do that process of kushisa impepho, thatha inkukhu kushisa impepho, kubika ukuthi okay, understandani ukuthi umntwana wala ekhaya uganwe isangoma, njengoba eganwe isangoma mina imbone engathobi, hayi ngoba eqonda ukundelela la ekhaya, but kuyisimo sokuthi lokhu ayikona nalaba hamba nabo akuvumi, and then they'll understand ukuthi why mhlambe mina mengikhuluma nobabezala ngimbuke ngathi ngibuka untanga wami, even though that's not the case. Angisho ukuthi phela isho in senjalo, that's not what I'm saying, but it's just a case of you can't wehle as if Makhosi cannot ehla for omunye umuntu. It just doesn't work like that. The only place where I toba and ngehla is kakobela or enkumuntu omdala kumina edlozini, yabo le nto. And nakhona it's dependent on the situation and the person. Malume ozane chaos. Awune chaos malume. Andakazisa yini? Malume ozane chaos. Who are the sliding? Oh, but yeah, okay, no, I won't forget. Please don't forget to touch on the women's side of which. No, I won't. But yes, so mekuthi ke nithwase, mokuthi it's always better. For me, what I would advise, if was usuzoshada, to rather do your process first, and then ucace, because it really is complicated and more difficult when kumele ukuthi uthwase but usukucacile. And kuyasinda because also you need to understand la ugane khona ukuthi izinto zomsamo zakhona zihamba kanjani, because ultimately you are going to carry that. Izinto zasemzini are also going to be a part of you and a part of your situation and a part of intwaso yakho, because even umsindo wasemzini now uyak-affecta, because ultimately wacaca wafa ekhaya wavuka kamkhonyana. So amathongweni akhona, there are things that you need to understand about them, so that whatever happens ayicindezeli and ayihlehlise emumva when it comes to you prospering edlozini. And also there are processes that you can't do at your house that ekuthiwa fanele uyoyenza ekhaya la like ivumadlozi ngeke uyenzele emzini wakho, ufanele uyoyenzela ekhaya la othwasela khona idlozi lakhona. So uma uthwasela komalume fanele uhambe uyokwamalume uyowenza ivumadlozi khona. Uma uthwasela kobaba uhambe kobaba uyowenza ivumadlozi khona. But obviously there are, for everything there are exceptions and understanding, but that is between you and your healer. You and your healer are going to be able to discuss and figure out mekuthi kunenkinga, because phela imizi ayifani, kunenkinga nenkinga ezahlukene edala ukuthi into ethile zingakhona ukuthi zenze ngendlela efanele ukuthi mazenzeke ngayo ngenxa yokuthi sabantu siyaphila. Okay. Now, when we go to what it means for umsamwako, my thing is this: but you are engaged, nomuntu othandana naye, ungawumisi umsamo emzini, because you also need to understand ukuthi emzini kunamathonga khona, kunezinto zayikhona, kunemthetho yakhona that have to be followed, right? And kunamakhehla khona that how you need to do something isn't necessarily how the clan does what they do, right? When it comes to spirituality. And learn to unpack ngathatha isikhathi nokujula, but I'm trying to summarize as much as I can. You need to be able to understand ukuthi mekuthi you are just engaged, umsamo wakho awumisi emzini. That's one. Umisa ekhaya, wherever home is, whether umntwana okhule komalume or kobaba, whatever the case may be, but umisa at home. And then unfortunately you're just gonna have to every now and again do it up and down in order to nurture isigodlo sakho or umsamo wako, now that you're a sangoma, you're a healer. Uyabika though, make uthi umsamo sekhaya wena uhlala emzini, because for a period umsamo wami wawusekhaya at my mom's house, and ngangihlala emzini. Every now and again I'd have to go home and go do what I needed to do for my ancestors, and then ngiphinde emzini. And also when I was leaving to go ukuhlala emzini, kwashiswa impepho kwakhulunywa, umntwana uyahamba, mekuthi animboni ningaxwayi uyohlala la iganela khona, right? So kwabikwa, that is very important in everything that you do. Just like having a full-time parent over your shoulder, you need to njalo mozwenze whatever step that you take uyibike, so that bazokwazi ukuthi nabo bagijimele phambili, bakwazi ukukuvikela ezintweni ezithile, or go and foresee the problems of what you're about to do or where you're going, right? And also to be able to let you know whether they approve of what you're about to do or they don't, because bona babonwa langa bona, they're able to see what you are unable to see. So you cannot question as to why ngingakwazi kwenza into ethile ngoba mhlambe khona into abayibonile wena ungayiboni, noma angakabi kwisimo we bangangibulela yona, right? So you need to understand that. So uma kuthi awucacile ungamisi umsamo emzini, right? And two, mozomisa umsamo, rather wait until you guys have your own property or have your own place, because it protects you and your ancestors from, you cannot tell certain people emzini hlapho babonile wena ukuthi abekho right, ukuthi you can't come here, or what are you doing near indumba yami, or whatever. You can't control abantu basemzini endaweni yabo, because where you are at, that is their place. Where you are at, they are free to roam, right? Even if you are seeing things that are wrong about the people la uganela khona. It is not your place, it is not your department. Ukuthi nedlozi akusho ukuthi uhamba ufafaza ukuthi hey kukuthi la ngiganele khona. It's not for other people, it's for you to understand and the people that you are close with, right? Those ohlezi ubavulela isifuba sakho, right? Those are the ones that need to understand ukuthi unjani la ukhona, right? Why you're not doing 1, 2, and 3. But it is not your place to tell everybody ukuthi njengoba bona, because lapho you are disrespecting idlozi lakho and you are disrespecting umsebenzi namathongo wala oganele khona, because ultimately awukho umuzi onganabo abathathu bakhona asingadlali. Let's not play and act like our families amsulwa. You know, there are people, there's somebody that I talk to quite often. Uyawuthanda umndeni wakhe, right? And you cannot see not one thing wrong about umndeni wakhe, right? But it's not to say ukuthi abekho abantu abadoje kulowo mndeni. It's just that it's not my department to say, by the way, your uncle or your aunt or you're this or you're that. It's not my department. Umuntu mabathanda abantu bakubo ufanele bathande vela bakubo. Uyabo. But you need to understand ukuthi because you see, it doesn't mean you need to make other people see, because there are people that are just never ready to see what is really going on. There are people, that's why even in Scotland, Sami, I made it a point ukuthi I can't tell you ukuthi uthakatha ubani because it's not my place. My place is to provide direction and healing. It's to explain to you, this is what's happening in your life, this is why you are sick, or this is why you are not moving forward, or this is why you're not prospering, this is why umsebenzi uvalekile, uma imali ivalekile, izinto ayicaci, uphupha kambi, uneswana. It's my job to say that. Then it's my job to direct you ukuthi this is how you are going to get healing, this is how you're going to get better. We mustn't act like we come from perfect families. Every single family ungahamba uyephi inomthathu wakhona, inomuntu wakhona nje who likes to dabble in dodgy things. Asikwazi ukuyivika leyo nto, but what we can do is just do what we need to do to protect ourselves and nabantu esibathandayo okufanele ukuthi bavikeleke bambozeke kwizinto that people want to do to them ultimately. So when uganile, there are things, your hands are tied. They awukwazi ukuthi uchele emzini. It's not your place ukuthi uchele emzini, yabo, because omunye angasho ukuthi hayi ngoba vele angikwazi ukuthi ngimvimba umuntu othatha ukuthi afike. Awukwazi ukuchela. Your role emzini is to ukuthi ube umakoti. Just because you are a healer, it doesn't change that. It only alters certain things ukuthi awukwazi ukuthobela abantu bakhona, ukwazi ukwenza ukuthi, but hayi ukuthi awukwazi ukuhlonipha, because ukuthoba nokuhlonipha are very two different things. Ukuthoba nokuhlonipha are two different things. It's just that they are aligned together, but they are not the same thing. All right. So fanele uhloniphe and understand ukuthi uzogana la, and njoba uzogana la fanele uhlonipha ngisho inkukhu, ngisho ichwane, ngisho inja yakhona uyahlonipha wena. All right, because uzogana la. Right. So ngisho umbona ukuthi hey akumamba ethakathayo la ekhaya, it's not your place. Your place is understand ukuthi la ngiganile mina fanele idlozi lisikhanyisele nomuntu engiphila naye ukuze ngikwazi ukuthi ngiyokwakha lapha sikwazi ukuthi siphumele ubudemoni obukhona la, and that's it. Right. Whatever is happening there is not for you to go and tell the whole nation about. Because ultimately every single family has the dodgy person that is always going to try and do dodgy things. Now, moving right along from that, when it comes to abantu abajolayo ukuthi bengifuna ukuqeda, because njengoba ngishilo everything has a hierarchy. When it comes to abantu abajolayo, there's two things that happen. Either mekuthi you guys are in a long-term serious relationship and niyaphilisana impela ukuthi kuphela kunezinto ezingakalungi ukuze nikwazi ukuthi ke nifikelele kwi-stage samalobolo and so forth. Boyfriend ufika nenkukhu if the woman is the healer, all right, or kuyena ofanele athwase. Ufika nenkukhu akukhunge ngayo, the person ugobela wakho, or I'm trying to think who else, but only a healer can do this process, ne? and yeah ayikwazi ukwenziwa omunye umuntu une-healer can do the process ukuthi akwazi ukuthi ke niyethwe healer akwenziwe i-process ngaleyo nkukhu kubike ukuthi kuwukuthi bathandana nabantu. Ngicela ukuthi-ke bangaxatshaniswa izinto eziwubala. Ngicela ukuthi-ke ama-ancestors angala understand ama-ancestors angala kube nokubezelana kuze kufikelele la ukuthi-ke kwenziwa lokho kufanele kwenziwe ukulungisa emsamo ukujabulisa amathongo, right? So a healer does that process for you. Or kanye-ke angakwazi ukuthi-ke in the meantime ukube ncangisimo mekuthi-ke mhlampe-ke niyathandana and every time you're around the person uvuka umoya, whatever the case may be, akhona ukuthi-ke ni light amakhandlela akhanyise each candle. So nizomele nilayithe wo-7 amakhandlela, limhlophe, liyellow, liblue, ligreen, elibovu, ilipink, iliphi engalibala, eliphephuli, yabo, ngikhanyise le ibani-ke so-7. Mekuthi umuntu uyisithunywa kuphela, like sithunywa with no dlozi, no, then khanyiswa-ke ibani ezimhlophe kuphela ezu-7, akhanyise each one ecele ey'thunyweni ezahlukene zakini ukuthi ngicela ukuthi nimbekezelela. Mekuthi-ke angikakabi namandla ukuthi nithole leyo nkukhu, but at least thandazile akhanyise each candle. That will buy you time until the person that you're with can get you a chicken. Especially ngicela ningahambi nithenga inkukhu and you've only been with the guy for a week or 2 weeks or a month. Can we just not do that? Because akufanele ulokhu nisanganisa iy'dalo, nisanganisa iy'thunywa i-Jagan house edlozini or ey'ngelosini iy'thunyweni. Akuyona i-Jagan house lena, please. Can we not do unclean things? If you've been with somebody for at least minimum a year, and you can tell, or at least 6 months ago, because khona abantu abanama relationship anokusheshashesha. If you at least been with the person for 6 months, then you do the candles process. Khanyiswe ibani lezo, kuthandazwe, ubike through umthandazo. It will buy you time. Then if you once you guys are maybe together for a year, then you do the process yenkuku. Okay? So those are 2 processes that can be done when it comes to umjolo. Kodwa khona idalwa, so I'm going to put this disclaimer. Idalwa that are not going to engeke bayishove indaba yamakhandlela abazofuna inkukhu. Abazofuna inkukhu eqhude uceleke emakhehleni, because usually people that have a problem amakhehla, that's why kuthenga iqhude. Izalukwazi usually don't have a problem unless kuyafe bakhe. Then it's different. I'm sorry ukuyibeka obala, but it's just the truth. Unless you're going from uJohn uye ku-Jim, uye kumsizi, uye ku-Sam, ukumelusi, uye kuhlanganani, uye kumthembu, uye kuthemba, if you're going from this one to this one to this one, hayi ke, then izalukwazi ke ziyantshela. Kona abantu uthola ukuthi umhlola athi ugogo wakhona lona nje akahlushwa yilutho, ngicela umtshele nje ukuthi ekufeba. There are ancestors like that. There are ancestors like that, and that's the issue they have. Izalukwazi azwani nokunuku. Because also, you need to understand ukujula kwe exchange of the spirits. So many people speak about it, but I don't think people really understand. Menzwenze inkonzo kamereni. Yonke into lo muntu othandana naye afika nayo, right? Na yonke into nawo ofika nayo ishalesi iyaphambana, okuyishushu okuyini kusuka ngala kuya ngala, okuyichitho okuyini kusuka ngala kushaya ngala. And wesike wena umuntu esifazane, ngoba wena as umuntu esifazane udalelwe ukuthi wamkele, uyabamba, uyadonsa, yonke into ifika izohlala kuwena la ngaphakathi kanje. Ingene ihlale njengomgqomo ukuthululwa kuwona, kuyathululwa nje, kuyathululwa. So that's why thina sabantu besifazane sishayeka kakhulu when it comes to spiritual exchanges. When it comes to inkonzo lenziwa ekamereni, thina sitrapeka kakhulu because siyamkela. and because siyamkela kunezinto esingakwazi ukuthi sizenze, sihambe sithi siney'chitho nje, ezinye iy'chitho zidala ukuthi sihambe silala. Mozohamba ulala wenza abantu bakho amanuku, then obvious kunezinto ezofike zikubambe zikushaya. Uthola ukuthi nje as they called spiritual STDs, uthola ukuthi nje ulele neThemba izolo, uThemba uhlushwe isilwane, lesilwane sifike safica wena unedlozi. Njengoba sifica wena nedlozi, sadla sabona ukuthi angithi ukuhlehla kancane kuThemba ngizobambelela kuwena kancane ngoba idlozi lakho lihle. Njengoba lelihle nje linamandla, lidinga ukuthi ngilokhe ngincele khona nami ngizolokhe ngiba namandla. Kuney'lwane ezidalwa ukuthi sihambe sishintshana nabantu esithandana nabo, sihambe sishintshana ubudlelwane. Hence why ngamtshela umuntu, especially spiritual people, ngabatshela ningahlukani nesiqunga. Monedlozi uthatha isiqunga usihlanganisa nomhlamba amanzi, those two together, uhlambulule idlozi lakho, uhlambulule, because lento yokuthi especially ukuthi awuganile kodwa uthandana nomuntu, lo muntu awumazi ukuthi njengoba usuka kuwena uyaphi kusasa. Right? The people, you cannot guarantee what somebody is doing when they are not around you. So you need to protect your spirit and protect your ancestors. So monedlozi, thatha isiqunga uhlanganisa nomhlamba amanzi, uhlambulula idlozi lakho. If you can get amanzi asolwandle, even better. Uyayibona lento le. Hlambulula umoya wakho khona uzoba right. Kunezinto nje okufanele sigweme masabantu bamoya, because unfortunately if mina ngizohlola wena, mengikuhlola kunezinto ezofike zingihluphe ebusuku noma zingihluphe ngilele noma ngiphuphe kambe because bengikuhlola and kunezinto kuwena ezisindayo. How much more if that person uzobulala naye? Like umuntu olala nawe, mina ngidonse lento nje ngokukuhlola. How much more umuntu uzolala naye? So we need to ensure that we protect our spirits and we protect abantu esihamba nabo ukuze ukwazi ukuthi lezi zinto esizenzayo zihlele zihlambululekile when it comes to emoya yethu, especially those people abazi ukuthi fanele bayothwasa but ke for whatever reason abakangena ephehlweni. You need to understand ukujula kwaleyo nto leyo. And isikhathi sesingishila ngakade nokudla nje ngihleli la ngenzana nevideo. So nje ningixolele bazalwane, isikhathi ukuthi ngikhone ukuthi ngihambe. I hope I've covered everything that needed to be covered when it comes to this, because ngiyangibuza lento and ijulile ngempela and it's important. So it's something that you need to take note of and uyihluphe ngayo so that awuninkinga. And also idlozi always finds a way to advise you or let you know ukuthi lo muntu ophila naye is not the one, so that you spare yourself and your emotions and you spare yourself wasting of your time. When it comes to sonke siyafuna uthando, sonke siyafuna ukugana, even abantu abathi abafuna ukugana banamanga. Wonke umuntu uyafuna ukugana, uyafuna ukuthi abe nomuntu ozophila nayo, ozokwazi ukuthi abambisane naye mase sesinda ngoba umhlaba ubuye unethe. Yabo impilo ibuye isinethe. Menginetha, you want somebody you're gonna be able to ukuthi ame nawe, akweseke naye, akukhalise, akududuze ukuze sikwazi ukuthi siphile kahle. Ayikho lento labantu ukuthi hayi ngoba uyisangoma sha lalela izangoma izona ezishada tu. And it's nama backup plan. Mekuthi it doesn't work out, even ugogo Shabalala, ugogo Shabalala's grand wayeganile and then wahamba wayephehlweni. Umkhwenyana wakhe wathi nje angisishada ngesangoma, so nje if you're going to stay there ephehlweni, know that you can't come back. And what happened? Did she not find another man? She found another one ozomlobola naye enze. So nje izangoma ziyagana usuku wena nendlela mhlawumbe wenza ngayo izinto, idlozi lakho alelihle, sisadinga ukuyogezwa lihlambululwe. Siye kudlisa amadoda adinga ukudliswa nje. Idlozi layilungiselela. Idlozi alisho ukuthi ifa wedwa nje uphile wedwa ngoba kuyasinda edlozini. So udinga umuntu ozobambisana naye. Lento ukuthi izangoma ishade ayikho. Sangoma siyashada, umthandazo uyashada, akekho ongashadi. Siyashada nje. kodwa nje kufunakala ukuthi senze ubulungiswa, do what we need to do, nathi sijabulisa amadlozi ethu, senze lokhu, because anybody that makes you choose between your ancestors and them, that person does not support you. Anybody that says ukuthi fine twasa but you cannot work edlozini, that person does not support you, because wena ubiziwe kufanele wenze izinto ozojabulisa idlozi lakho, khona ungeke uvaleke la that you wouldn't have been closed otherwise. Yindaba poison yabo, ngaba uvalekanga, usuvale ukuthi nje wena you open the door and didn't fully go through it. Cha. Idlozi liyabusisa umendo, liyabusisa umjolo right, liyabusisa i-relationship, kodwa kumele ukuthi kube i-relationship that helps you move forward, that helps you achieve what you need to achieve, and then the blessings go both ways. Lizofika libusise wena, libusise nomuntu othandana naye. Alikho idlozi ezokubopha ukuthi hayi manje uyajola kunokuthi usenze isigodlweni. Cha. Kuthiwa kunjalo nje, ngabe mina ade ngahlukana nalomuntu engithandana naye, ngabe nje asathandana. But ngoba idlozi lithi no, we want the relationship, but we just also want you to understand that we come first. When you put, it's like God, when you put God first and then your ancestors, there's no way your marriage and your relationship will not be blessed. It will be blessed, but you need to understand ukuthi God, amadlozi, umjolo, in that order. If you understand that, then izobusiseka into yakho. So kube kuhle, kube mhlophe, kukhanye, kuvuleleke, sicela inhlanhla, sicela ibusiso, cela ukuthi makukhanye njalo, kukhanye emuva, kukhanye phambili, kukho konke sikwenzayo. Nani nibusiseke ekhaya, ngibonge nje ukuthi hayi nihlalile nami leli hour, siphushe sixoxe lento lena. And then what I'm going to do is next week I'll host a Q&A. But the load shedding bazalwane may interfere and but I'll try. So Wednesday next week we'll host a Q&A. So yonke into enfisa ungibuza yona nibhale, sihlangane next week Wednesday. I think we'll do it 6 o'clock. I think it'll be easier. We'll do it at 6 o'clock next week. Yonke into enfisa ungibuza yona ngikhona ukuthi ningibuze, and then sizoxoxa nje njengoba sixoxa. Kukhanye Makhosi. Manje ngienda kanjani elefoni yakho? Was a million, was a million.